Question. Matt Serra was so decorated in submission wrestling. Why do you think that hasn't translated to his career in the UFC?
I think there's a big difference. You know, Phil Brony said something that really stuck in my mind, and that's amazing. He said something that really, I learned something from him. And he goes, the best defense to an armbar is a punch to the face.
Correct.
And a lot of straight jiu-jitsu guys just can't get over that mentality of, here I've got an armbar, I get hit in the face, oh I gotta let, you know, so I think the striking had a lot to do with it, and a lot of wrestlers are the same way. A lot of wrestlers don't make good MMA guys because of the striking. So I mean, the striking really throws in a big wrench in some people's.
Well, what's the old saying? You know, one punch, black belt becomes a brown belt.
Yeah.
You know, another punch, he becomes a purple belt.
Yeah.
Punch about 5 times, he's a white belt.
If I had, and I don't know this to be a fact, but if I had to guess, it'd be the striking in with the grappling.
I think also Matt Serra, obviously, I mean, he had a great win. He's had a great career. He's fought all the best. He's going to fight Matt. Matt's body type works against him, though, too. I mean, he's short-armed. He's at 55. When he's at 55, he's got a chance. But at 70, you just look at, you're 5'10", right? 5'8", 5'9". He's 5'5". And so anytime you've got that reach, you've got to make yourself vulnerable. I think that Matt would be the first to admit that that works against him just physically, especially in the UFC's welterweight division.
And me being a wrestler, and you know, wrestlers are all about control. So I mean, that's going to work against him too. You get a wrestler on top of a guy that should be at 55
yep.
and is at 5'5".
It's pretty much, yeah.
You know, so there's going to be a lot of things working against him. I still would toy with the idea of moving up to 85 to face Silva. Now, you know, I gotta square things away in my weight class before I do that. But I mean, when I was a champion, I would always thought about moving up. And actually, I was going to do that before I did the Ultimate Fighter 2. If Evan Tanner would have beat Rich, I would have bumped up to 85 to fight Evan Tanner for the show. That was the deal.
Gotcha.
The winner of Franklin and Tanner
Correct.
was going to be the other coach.
Right.
And then Wes coaches would have fought again. So, you know, I've always thought about bumping up a weight to take that because I am a big 70-pounder. But, well, I don't know. I fought somebody who's taking people. I mean, can you think of anybody that
No, not really. I mean, you're not going to fight your boy Pat. I mean,
no, I'm not going to fight Pat.
Then you're not going to fight Jens.
I'm not going to fight Jens.
Again, like you do every day. You're not going to fight Tim. No, honestly, I don't know. I mean, when I think about your career, I think about that you fought everybody. You really have. And when you look at certain bios, when I study for the fights, you look at his bio, you look at GSP's bio, you look at Chuck's bio, Randy's, you go, wow, BJ's. They fought everybody. They fought all the great ones, including the legendary Royce Gracie, which was one of the greatest nights in mixed martial arts history. So I don't know if anybody's left, man.
As I'm thinking about it, one guy I always wanted to fight because I thought it was an interesting fight was Sakuraba back in the day.
Yes. Yep.
I just that we were about the same weight, you know, and he was so technical, and I was kind of just so rough. I just thought it was an interesting fight.
I'd like to see you fight Frank Trigg.
Yeah.
I'm just talking, no, not in a bad way. I'm saying from a legendary point of view, though, now that we kind of think about that, I thought Sakuraba in Japan, and that would be interesting because you've got two great legends of the sport, two great champions. That would be interesting. Frank's got a little bit left still. Maybe we can Dana.
Good question. So I say, hey, that's fine. So I get out and I put him in a choke. His friends take a picture. The guy shakes my hand, nice as can be, goes to Tim Sylvia, and
he passes out.
Then goes, and then next thing I know, like 20 minutes later, the security, Mandalay Bay security, comes up to me and goes, "Hey, that guy you choked for that picture? Yeah, he asked us to press charges against you, and we told him you asked for it, and then so he went to the city police, Vegas. Come on, they said." You asked for this picture. You know, we're not going to do anything to him because you asked for it. He found a lawyer that took the case.
He's ridiculous.
And took the case, and so now I had to go through this stinking lawsuit. We settled out of court, and I mean, so now I can't do picture. I can't put my
Matt,
hands
can I get a picture at least standing beside you? I got a 9-year-old son. He's a hero. Man.
Well, if you put on the Trigg shirt, he might choke you out. You know, it's a funny story that Matt said though, because we were in Belfast, we were in Northern Ireland. These young Irish dudes were there, and they were cocktailing, and they were drunk, and it was at the after party, and Forrest had fought. And so they're at the front desk, and oh, Forrest, legend, you're a legend. I want you to kick me. I want you to kick me. I was like, no, man, I'm not going to kick you. Like, no, it'd be such an honor to have you kick me. And Forrest's like, and then all of a sudden, Forrest, bam! And this kid's like, oh, that was awesome. You should have it's you, dude. So Forrest is just kicking these dudes in the lobby. I'm like, but in Ireland, they didn't press charges, so careful what you ask for.
My lawyer would have been throwing
exactly. Tim Sylvia, I want you to punch me in the face. Okay. Tim would do it. Tim would do it.
Good, how you doing?
I got a quick question. I heard that several times Frank Trigg was mentioned in your book. What did Trigg do that had such an impact on your life? What were some of the things he did to
That's a great way to put it.
to really put forth the effort to use him in your book so much?
Well, I fought him twice. It's probably one of the biggest reasons. So, I mean, that has something to do with there. And Frank always tried to get personal with things. You know, one thing, Matt Serra's not doing is he's not saying things about my family and stuff like that. Well, Frank Trigg did. So, I mean, he kind of took it to a whole new level. And, he got personal with me and I didn't like it. So, it doesn't bother me that 2 of the times you see me choking a guy out was Frank Trigg on that screen before I walked out here. So, I mean, I really don't care for the guy.
Do you think he would have had a better chance?
Trying to be nice here.
Do you think he would have had a better chance in the UFC if he wasn't given those title shots right when he got in? I mean, pretty much he was thrown to you and GSP. Do you think he would have had a better chance working his way up during towards lower level fighters?
Boy, I don't.
Frank's a good fighter, very good fighter. And when you look at the losses he had, it was to Matt Hughes twice, it was to GSP, it was to Sean Shirk. I mean, so I think your point is very well taken with Frank. What happened with Frank, though, is that he had lost not once but twice to Matt. He had lost to GSP, and there were other young up-and-comers right at that time, like Koscheck and Diego, and all those guys coming off the reality show. So you got these young bucks. Well, it doesn't do a lot of good to have Frank Trigg beating down a bunch of younger guys when he can't or has not been able to beat Matt Hughes and George St. Pierre. And so he was a victim of his own timing in that. And so, yeah, it was unfortunate for Frank because he is a great fighter. But he had his chances at the title, wasn't able to come through, and, there was nowhere else to go. And so it was fight the elite or not fight at all, and he had his chance. So I think the point you're making is valid to a certain point, and I just think the timing was off for Frank.
And that's nobody's fault but Frank's for not slowing down and saying, hey, I'll take this title shot, later. So, I mean, if you had to point the finger at somebody, you'd probably have to point it at Frank, which I think he's his own manager. I don't think he hasn't had a manager. But he might have. I mean, and if he had a manager, you'd be pointing the finger at the manager, not Frank.